All right. Excellent. All right. So we are going to, in Teaching Tuesday today, go over GitHub, another section on GitHub where we look at combining code. So that is pulling someone else's code into your repository or dealing with merge conflicts. So I think let's take a more straightforward situation first, which I think Sam will be able to, no, not Sam, Mike. Where is Mike? Mike left.
Oh, no, Mike's here.
Thank goodness. Mike, would you feel comfortable sharing your screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to look at Caroline's, at least one of Caroline's pull requests for language. And this is dealing with a pull request when combining code when there is no conflict. So Caroline made a fork, actually, which we can discuss someday, but she basically made another branch where she changed code. And now she requested, she said, that code is ready. I'd like you to combine my code with your code and language will be better and everything will be happy. And go ahead and go to GitHub, Mike. So, and to that. So look at that, that top row where it says, right under the repository name where it says code issues pull requests. So right under the repository name, which is near the top. Right,
pull requests.
Pull requests, perfect. Yep. Go there and go ahead and click on that pull request. So we can see it's a beautiful pull request. You are not logged in.
Am I not?
You have to log in for this part to work. Okay, perfect. Now we see a little bit more what I'm expecting. Good. So you can see there are 4 tabs here. One is conversation, where you can comment on things. The 2 we're most interested in is conversation, and then the ones on the one on the end, files changed. You can go into file changed, and you can look into the differences, basically. Yeah, don't worry about that for now. And you can see the differences between the 2 and see if there's anything that, for example, has changed about the logic or anything that looks like it needs extra testing. So you can note that. So for example, there's a new question possibly. I don't know.
I added that before we decided what we decided yesterday. So that has to come, if he can pull it, but then he can take it out on his version.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's go to that main page, that original, the conversation. Oh no, actually go on in, actually this one you can just merge. Usually we do, let's simplify it down to its very simplest. You can just hit merge. A lot of times people will want to, for example, let's go really quickly actually to files changed, and we'll click on the review tab so that you can see where it is. So review changes in the top right. You can leave a comment and you can approve, or you can request changes. And with each of those, you can leave a comment. And if you request changes, then you tell whoever you're requesting changes from that you had requested changes. But we're going to just approve, just to see what that looks like on the other page. Just click approve and submit. Actually, were we going to go over? I'm so sorry. I'm having one of those days. We're just going to merge this. Usually you would test this, but I don't want to spend time testing this because we have to make a new project and pull it in, unless that's something you want to go over, Caroline. Was that your intention today? I don't know. Oh God, what a day.
Is Eric here taking notes?
Yeah. Eric is taking notes.
Oh, great.
So
okay.
Also we have a document that we can link you at the end. But for now, we won't test this branch and go ahead and merge the pull request, because we'll do that with the one that has the merge conflict, which is super good. So confirm merge, that is also a thing. And then you have merged it. and it is now in your code, and you can click, or you can't click delete branch because it was on a fork, so maybe less than ideal example, but that's fine. And yeah, you're all set. Caroline can delete her own branch, and the project that you made to test this code should also be deleted. So if you, yeah, I mean, that's it for merging something that doesn't have conflicts, other than the fact that I skipped a bunch of steps. But
And then
over those steps.
I think, Michelle, when you say
Yep.
the project, that means the project on the playground. Just
Yep,
so people,
the playground project.
projects and packages get confused.
Well,
So
a
I
package
think
is
that's
also on the playground, Caroline.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, when you said delete the project, you're talking about go to your playground and delete the project.
Yep, here you would delete the branch, which I can show you a little bit later. I cannot see everybody. Can someone tell me if there are questions? Are there questions?
Post your question in the chat, or just post that
Or-
you have a chat. Post that you have a question in the chat, and then we can unmute yourself.
I have a question.
Yes,
If you
Eric.
try to merge and there is a conflict, it'll let you know, right?
Yes, it will. And I'll show you that real soon, yeah. Are there other questions?
Wait,
And
so
if we-
basically, there's no reason to use like the social features unless your team is actually using GitHub to communicate, like the comments and or would you use that?
I would use that because it creates a record in the repository that can be traced back later.
Okay.
So I wouldn't, if you want to have a conversation that talks back and forth, Slack is great, but I would put the conclusions of that, see the comment box down there, I would put the conclusions of that and the like rationale for those decisions in the comment box.
So do use them. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Other folks? All right. If you have one, I'm not going to leave you 10 seconds because that's too long right now. But if you have one, let us know in the chat. So now you unshare that screen, Mike, and I am going to pull up my screen, and I'm going to show you a situation where there are two kinds of merge conflicts, and I'm going to show you one kind. So I'm going to show you how I make a pull request and what that looks like when it has a conflict. Keep me in the loop if people type in chat and such. So your faces, I love them, but they don't help me right now. Okay, so I have made a branch that is a base branch. So that could have been master. That usually is master, but I don't want to mess up master right now for this. So I'm going to do a demo base branch. And I also made a branch off of that base branch. So now I have a new branch off of master as it was. And I want to make a pull request. I'm going to make a pull request onto my base branch because I made some feature changes. It looks like, so I want that branch, and then I want the base branch. So I said I'm going to adjust variable names to be less consistent for the demo because I couldn't find anything useful to do that was easy to show. And I get here can't merge automatically, can't automatically merge. So I'll take pictures of this slide, or maybe I can recreate this later. So that doesn't mean you can't make a pull request. You can still make a pull request. And it won't show you what the merge conflicts are here. So I generally make the pull request and see what's going on. I request a reviewer. I can't request myself. I'll request Caroline. Hi, Caroline. And I'm going to make a pull request. And right down here, I can also see this branch has conflicts that must be resolved. And in this situation, GitHub is saying, this is simple enough that I can let you resolve it in here. So I'm going to hit that, and I'm going to see what GitHub can let me do. So it takes me right down to the conflict. There is apparently, if I scroll to the top, one conflict. So, but it won't take me I guess it won't scroll me through them if I'm not right there. And so I see that I've got this code, and in comparison, this code, somehow I changed a line in both of these. Let me go back a step. So I pulled this branch. What happened is I created this, I pulled the code from the base branch, from demo base, and I edited. In the meantime, someone, which was me too, but let's pretend not, edited the base branch and pushed their code to GitHub. They did a commit. Apparently, they edited the same lines I edited and slightly differently. And so Git doesn't know whose changes to take on board. So, but looking at this right here, it's kind of hard to see what's going on. And there are a lot of details here. So I'd really like to see, what is the difference? So I come back here to the Files Change tab, and I look at what the differences are. There aren't really a lot of differences. It looks like mobile number changed to mobile phone, and mobile number changed to mobile phone, and message result. Well, I really only intended to change this to initial message. Let's see, mobile phone. See, that seems like it could break something. That seems like if I do that, it's possible that it would keep it, it's possible that it would break it. And what I'll really want to do is, this is the simplest way to do it, is pick what changes I want. So I'm going to say that I want to keep mobile number, because I remember that it's consistent, though I may go look at my other code. Let me see. And then I'm going to test it. So I'm going to say I don't want mobile phone to change. I don't want that variable to change. But I do want the variable name initial message result to stay changed. Other than that, message result, email template.
So Michelle, can you just say what you're doing? Because you're deleting, didn't you just
Sure.
delete something?
Sure. So, I mean, I can do this whatever way is most comfortable. For example, I can copy all of this and paste it here, right? And then say, I'm going to keep what I want to keep. I'm going to kind of cherry pick what I want to keep. I don't want to keep this change, but I do want the name to change. So I'm going to, you know what? Yeah, true say. Why is that there? Else, okay. It's an else. I just was scrolled over. So I would like to keep mobile number, which is here. So I'm just gonna, because it's easier for me, I'm gonna copy this text, send SMS, and just everything that's after send SMS, I'll replace with the code that I want to keep. And then everything else is the way I want it to be. So I'm picking and choosing the changes I want to make. Now this is very prone to breaking something. So I'm going to mark it as resolved, and I'm committing a merge that basically fixes conflicts. That's all it does. It fixes conflicts.
Michelle, is it prone to, like, I don't know, because you're not testing it as you go?
Yeah, because you can't test between the two.
Right.
But this I'm going to, that's fine. But now I'm not gonna, I might close this request, or I might say, hold on for testing after resolving merge conflict, for example. And then I'm going to go back to my projects. I'm going to create a new project, eviction, merge, conflict, and this was issue number 27. So 27, save, I'm going to pull. Sorry, folks. Just showing this procedure. I'm going to and pull that branch that I just changed. And then I'll go test the file. And if it works, it works. But what I want to test is stuff to do with mobile number. So I want to make sure that I'm still able to send a co-defendant an SMS. I might test email as well because it was hanging around the same area. So merge conflicts are super annoying. And fixing them in GitHub, unfortunately, is the way, it's one of the ways to do it, and it's one of the only ways available to us. Now I'm going to show a different conflict. Oh, first, do folks have questions about?
I have a question.
Yes, ask a question.
I'm not too sure if you've really detailed this specifically, but do you have a pro tip to how to avoid merge conflicts, or is there such a tip?
Try to only solve one problem at a time. So don't do work that is, how you avoid doing work that interferes with each other is work on separate problems, you know,
Okay.
try to really delineate the work separately so that,
Yeah.
and break it down. But there are going to be merge conflicts. They just come up.
Okay.
If you want a hand with them, definitely contact us, right?
Okay.
We're going, this looks a little too complicated to deal with. Like, I'm not sure where, you know, where one, you know, which ones I should pick. You can also go to your base branch right there, and you can go to the same file and you can see kind of what, you know, it was in, I think, multi-user. So you can look for SMS and see, there we go, right, what the differences are. So you can take these, for example, you could take them to a Diff Checker, which I've provided in the link in the documentation. And you could put one here, and you can get your code from here and put the other code there. That is actually something I meant to. SMS. So if else, and hit find differences, and it will tell you more about the differences between the base branch and right.
Got it.
Well, now that I've changed it, it has a few less differences, but before it was changed, right?
Yeah.
So I could have taken those.
You can probably expect merge conflicts, I'm guessing. If you pull from a master branch, it takes you 3 weeks to push your changes, because presumably people are continuing to work on the interview, and you haven't got your changes in time, so everything. That's actually a question, but it didn't sound like a question.
Sure.
Right?
First, yeah, no, the longer you have merge pull requests hanging around, the more likely it is that they're going to run into merge conflicts. And even though at the beginning maybe one says it doesn't have any conflicts, if you keep changing stuff, it will change to have conflicts. So it's not safe just because it looks safe for the first time. So go back and be pretty prompt about looking at pull requests and merging them in before things get too complicated. But above all else, you will run into merge conflicts. It just happens when you're collaborating with code. It happens when I'm collaborating with myself. So maybe Quentin and David have had different experiences with merge conflicts, but
they're the worst.
Right.
They are the worst. They are the worst. I'm gonna, right. Other questions until I show you the other kind of conflict that can come up and the other way to deal with conflicts, which is just as messy, but there you go. Let me know if anybody types anything. Okay, go ahead.
So to get this setup happened, you had a separate branch from the master and you merged changes into that?
Yes. So you can pretend that this here says master,
Yeah.
and this is just a branch that I made from master. The master branch isn't special.
And that's, you did that when you were working from the playground, but you do the pull request from GitHub.
Yes, the playground cannot make pull requests. Only GitHub can make pull requests. GitHub is the way to collaborate. You cannot collaborate purely through the playground. So,
Cool.
Okay. So again, feel free to write further questions if you have them. I'm going to ask for another one of, well, maybe we'll just look for another one of Caroline's because I know you're having bandwidth problems. So just a sec.
There's the other motion to vacate default in the housing.
Motivations.
I sent you a link to it.
Yeah.
Might be able to-
So, sorry, folks. Okay, I think I've found it. Consumer default. Wait.
No, that's the one you just did. It's the other
Okay.
one.
It's the other one. Okay.
There's two motion to vacate default judgments.
Generic motion, family law.
No.
How about we do that one? Because I believe that's the one I had in mind.
Okay.
So that's the one we're gonna do. So let's start.
Yeah, it is kind of old, so I'm not sure if we want to.
Okay. I do sort of need, well, that's okay. I can do it on here.
There is one, the motion to vacate default judgment, which is housing. And I sent you the link for it. I can put it in the chat.
That's okay. I think we can do this one. Let me know if this isn't working out for folks, and then we will switch if needed. But I think this is going to work out.
Can you undo a merge?
I'm not going to merge anything.
Oh, okay.
Is it possible to undo one though?
What?
Is it possible to undo one?
Yes, you would need our help to do that, but it is possible. That's part of the beauty of Git and GitHub, is that it can all be undone. It can all be undone and redone, and it gets messy after a while, but oh, this one does have resolve conflicts. Okay, hang on. I can still show you how to do that, but no. Okay. So there was one I thought I saw earlier from you, Caroline, that did not have the ability to resolve conflicts. But we will just practice the other way. There are conflicts that come up that there is no resolve conflicts button, and then it's like, well, thanks, GitHub. But either way, this is another method to deal with this problem. So we've got first readability edits, and we can take a file that we think has the conflicts, and we can say, and you can get the code from your playground if you want, but I'm going to say view file. This might be the one. It's hard to see if GitHub doesn't let you see it, so I'm just going to pretend that GitHub hasn't. Just going to make it easier for myself and see the raw version. I'll show you where I pressed that button earlier. But I'm going to put that in the change text box.
Michelle?
And, yes.
When I use the online Diff Checker, I always forget which box I put which in. So I label the Diff Checker at the very top, which file is which, just
Sure.
because I can't remember.
Nice.
That's a really good tip, Caroline.
So now I'm going to go back, and I'm going to go to the master branch, and I'm going to open up the same file. So actually, neat little trick. If I go to this file, to view file, you've got the branch and commit name up here, and I'm going to go to master branch, and it's just going to give me the file at the master branch. So I'm going to see the raw text there. I'm going to go to the Diff Checker. I'm going to paste this in. I'm going to do find difference. and I'm going to see what I see. So there's a lot of differences, obviously. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go into my playground. I'm going to take the master branch. I'm going to make a new branch that is, for example, add first readability edits or something like that. And I'm going to cherry pick. I'm going to say, this one I wanted to keep, so I'm going to copy and paste that change into my playground, into this file, right? I'll open up this file and I'll pick one at a time, and I will go through very carefully because it's dangerous. And I'll pick things one at a time to add to the file, to change, testing in between to make sure I haven't broken things. And when I have done that, I will make a new pull request with that branch. I know it's super onerous, but it is the safest way to go about it. When, especially, I might recommend this for any kind of conflict that you have in GitHub, since the conflict resolution isn't ideal here, just because it's so, there's no ability to test, unless it's something that is very simple. But I know it can look painful, but believe me, it is much less painful than the alternatives. Unless, if someone has a better idea, I would be super thrilled to hear it though. So, you know, door open. All right, I'm gonna stop share, and I'm gonna ask for feedback, questions, whatever it is your thoughts are on that whole merge situation.
Do you think I don't want to do it, partly because nobody can hear me, but I also think it might be helpful if somebody would try and summarize what they just saw you do, you know, their understanding of it.
That would be amazing.
Caroline, why would you suggest that? It's not going to be
because nobody
me.
understands what I just said.
I don't know. I was going to rewatch the video and then do it.
Well, no, I don't think it is. I think when you try to put something into words, you know, when you try to explain it,
it'll show what I've
it helps
done.
you think through it. You know, like, so I'm also thinking of, if you have 2 Word documents, you make a 3rd Word document, right? I mean, that's kind of what you're talking about. I mean, it doesn't have to be Word, but people edit things like that all the time. I don't know. I just thought it might be helpful for somebody to put,
Sure.
you know, it's always helpful to hear people make their own analogies or how they would think about doing it. So I just thought.
Sure.
I'm going to
show you just really quickly. It is a great idea, and we're going to put someone on the spot real soon. I wanted to show you all.
Eric, I feel like you're volunteering as tribute.
Yes.
I mean, I have 3 pages of notes. So
great.
You would have been great in law
there
school.
would be no benefit for me, since I'm going to put those in a Google Doc anyways.
Yep. So this is the Google Doc where they're going. And we have a guide for a lot, like more than what I've described here. Right now, we're getting someone else's code into your playground. And so generally what we have is the instructions in text form. So if you want to see it quickly, because you just need a review, or we have a step-by-step guide.
So beautiful. So
I
beautiful.
think
this is awesome.
I think this is not the section I thought it was, but let's see. Just want to check if there was a better section for this. Combining code. There we go. Combining code. So this is mostly Mia. I mean, sorry, Mia.
Wow.
I'm sorry, both
Aubrey.
Mia and Aubrey. This is
Aubrey,
mostly
right?
Aubrey. Oh my God. I think you're both wonderful people and have contributed a lot to the project, just to be clear. But this was mostly Aubrey, which is just amazing. All the images. I added some instructions, and she's added a ton of content to give it context, and really fleshed out from those instructions. So But so, yep, step by step when you want, and also the summary at the start. So also the diff checker is in here, which, oh, maybe it left here, but it'll be back in here. Difference. Diff checker. I just put a dash there. So, all right. Just wanted to show that in case that like gives anyone better feelings about, you know, reassures anyone. Okay. So Eric, would you like to describe what you just saw?
What I just saw.
Mm-hmm.
So what I first saw was when you merged the branches with the auto merge. You just sent it, and that worked. But at the end, you recommended that you only really do that for simple changes, where you're pretty confident there won't be any conflicts because the GitHub resolver is not so reliable.
Right.
And so recommended us to use the social comment features to keep a recorded descriptive line of changes. And
So just to be clear, if that was the very first part of the video, was that the very first part of the video?
Yeah, I'm going chronologically.
So just a sec there to clarify a bit. Thank you for saying what you said. There were no conflicts. So the automatic merge.
Oh, right.
Is pretty good there. There is something you can do to make it more sure, and I can go over that, but I feel like there was a lot of information already. And you do need to test it once it's merged as well, if you do it in this simple way. But when there are no conflicts, especially if, say, master didn't change and I put a new branch in and I made some changes, if master didn't get ahead, if the base branch didn't get ahead, then that's fine. You've got everything right there. There's nothing more to think about. So you can just merge that with as much confidence as you have of your changes, I suppose. And that is perfectly acceptable. The hand holding, the cherry picking, all that stuff comes when a conflict happens, or when a base branch gets ahead of a child branch, which we haven't discussed what happens when there are not merge conflicts. So that's a different story. Sorry, I took us off on a tangent.
Is a conflict something? Is a conflict just the fact that the merging branch is ahead, or that there are commits that aren't in both? Like that's what triggers the conflict?
Yes, there where like you both started from here, right? And usually you go here and then you're like, all right, you know, bring me in, and then that's the next step. But if in the meantime this branch went over here, and now you need to come together, right, in this spot, and if there is something you both changed, like both those changes changed, both those commits changed, then Git doesn't know which one you should pick, and it says it's up to you. I'm hands off now. So it probably merges the rest of the stuff in fine, but it says this part is a problem. And so it won't let you move forward. So does that clarify, or maybe just listen to what Eric said at the beginning, which is it only matters if both of them change.
Right.
That is when you're more likely to get conflicts.
Is like the record of a commit, like that's something that GitHub just compares? So like are all these commits and they're attached to branches?
Yes, so each branch, all these commits are attached to, wow, how to describe Git. I think getting into the details of Git is a little beyond the scope of this lesson. Git is an amazing tool. It keeps track of changes, and then it tries to combine those changes basically every time you use it. And when you have two branching paths that have conflicting changes, then it has a problem. But to get into the nuts and bolts of how Git decides what does and doesn't conflict is pretty it can get gnarly. It's a very simple system, but very complex to understand. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get a concrete grip of what's what constitutes a conflict.
So for example, if I wrote a shopping list and the first item was get bread, and then I made a branch and I changed that to get 2 loaves of bread, and you in the meantime changed it to say get 1 loaf of bread, right? When you tried to combine that, that would be a conflict because we said 2 different things. Does that make sense? Is that more clear than it was before?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess it is.
Okay.
I'm wondering what a conflict looks like from the point of view of GitHub or of Git. Like,
from the point of view of Git,
technically.
it is a lot of 1s and 0s. It's
okay. Well, yeah. Maybe not that deep.
It's comparing like the code that is. It has an understanding of what line and what like text is there, and it has an understanding when two branches don't have the same history is really what's going on. When 2 branches don't have the same history for the same place in the code, then it says there's a problem. So it keeps track of history, and if at some point the history diverges and those pieces of history conflict with one another.
Okay. So it's
And if anyone has a great analogy or
blockchain. I don't know.
clearer way of
That might not help.
A lot of people think of things in terms of, if you have familiarity, so for lawyers, sometimes it helps to think about redlining. So it's, like you have a Word document that you've edited and GitHub is helping do redlining. And there's a canonical version of the document, which is the one that the changes have been accepted on. And a conflict is when there are multiple changes to the same line and it hasn't been determined which one is accepted. And then once you resolve the conflict, then it becomes the canonical version, and it's as if you accepted the change.
I think that's a really, really good thing that should be documented because
only works for attorneys, though. You have to have familiarity.
It really only works for attorneys.
Because Michelle's like, what the heck is redlining?
No idea what we're talking about.
If we look at the call,
although Eric
right?
is not an attorney, so apparently, maybe it works for other people too. But
it doesn't work for me. No. Is it like track changes in Google Doc?
That's a
it's like
or
track
Google Doc
changes.
or Word. Yeah, so
That's
it's really an attorney thing. It's really an attorney thing.
But if you take away from the redlining thing and you do a more track changes thing, which more people are familiar with, I think you could liken it like that.
I don't know what happens when 2 people edit a Google document offline and then they try to combine the versions.
Problems.
But I would assume it's something very similar to a merge conflict.
I would assume so too.
I suspect they use Git in the background.
No, these young people, they use Google Docs for everything, but we used to use Word to do it. And what would happen is if you have your original and you have 2 editors, when Word combines them, they accept the changes in the 2 separate ones and then bring those in. You know what I mean? No. You don't know. Well, Google doesn't.
I do know. I'm just being facetious.
Yeah.
No, I do know. You have like 3 panes with it showing all different versions, and then if there is a conflict, you select.
Yeah.
So say I sent out my I wrote an article and I sent it out, for edits from Caroline and from David. And they both came back, and most of the changes, like Caroline changed, the tense of a word here, or made something not passive, and down here David fixed spelling. But in the middle here, Caroline changed something from a passive tense to an active tense, and David tried to do the same thing but did it in a different way. Getting back those edits, have to decide, do I want David's version or do I want Caroline's version, or do I want to take some from Caroline's or some from David's, right? In just that spot.
Yeah, that's your merge conflict, right?
That's your merge conflict. And Git says, I can't make the decision. That is way above my pay grade. I'm passing it to the boss, right? And so the boss in this case is you, and you need to make the decision on what will be sent out with the newspaper. Is that any
Cool.
better? Really?
I do like how you
Okay.
customize that to be passive or intense for Caroline.
It's one I've been struggling with in my interviews.
Just so you know, passive and active are voices, not tenses.
Yeah, no, tenses was before I was like, no, this is more relevant. Passive.
Yeah, I heard them as two.
That's
She was going with two different things. Is what I.
But I can't run to the, yeah.
Nice,
Voices.
Michelle. Very
Thank
nice.
you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All right. So that is, I believe, enough information. I mean, I can always show you more about Git and GitHub, but I think that's enough information to absorb right now. The next lesson might be about how to properly review a branch that is behind where you are now. So you've made changes and you want to make sure that everything actually works together. Not that just there aren't merge conflicts, but that there wasn't something changed that breaks each other. But I think we might leave that till next time.
I have a question.
Yes.
Do like professional development teams like have a regular standardized cadence to merging, so to regulate this issue?
Yes. But usually it's easier because they're not using docassemble. So
Really?
yeah, when you do it on when I've done it in every other development project, I use Git in the command line. GitHub is based on Git. Git is really what's at the meat of it, and GitHub is a way to collaborate with Git, with each other, to share and to make pull requests and that kind of thing. So I would pull their PR into my local repository in Git and do command line arguments, and I would, make it, I would do all this stuff, but I would do it in a way that is easily testable. So there wasn't a lot of back and forth between my system and another system. But here you have a middleman that's kind of, that adds a layer of complexity. It's not simple, but it is more simple than this. And it is easier to test. So yeah, but there is a flow for resolving merge conflicts. And in teams where there are people with less experience or more experience, there might be people that specifically take on merge conflicts to be the final say, right? And it's painful. They're just always painful. Merge conflicts are just hard, and everyone runs into them. Everyone has to deal with them at some point. So yeah.
Are we finished this lesson? Could we perhaps
I
go
think we're
to Eric's?
to questions.
Yeah, Eric and Sam had that question about, maybe it was specifically Eric.
I resolved my issue. It was an embarrassing typo, but I took a screenshot anyway so that others may know better.
Oh, perfect. Thank you for that.
Fantastic.
How many times have my
typos.
errors been typos?
All the time.
You don't have to admit it.
A lot.
98%.
Okay, perfect. So, okay, then maybe we just open it up. Wow.
Right. Are there other questions?
I have another question after the other team on how to do it online.
So let's do your question, because the other team solved their question by fixing their spelling, which is totally valid.
Sorry, I thought they had another question. So I'm just trying to get the address one line to work. You'd sent me a piece of code to try out, which I'll put in the Zoom chat for everyone, but I'm just not sure where to put it and if I need to alter my PDF in any way.
So this is an address one line. This is address line 1, just to be clear to everybody, because we just want the street address and the unit number, for example. So would you be willing to share your screen where you're trying to put this information? Sure, great.
I'm gonna reshare so I can show you my PDF, sorry.
No worries.
Okay. So here's the PDF, and right now I have a spot for the unit, but it looks really bad. in my opinion. And if you don't have a unit, it kind of just has
Yeah.
a place to put something. Looks like you.
So, yeah, my suggestion here would be to get rid of that and to lengthen the street address,
Right.
and then to just have the value in the street address.
So what do I put in the street address so that address line 1 works?
So that would be in your attachment block.
Okay, that was my next. So if this is
Mm-hmm.
my attachment block, do I change? What do I do?
Right, so address 1 underscore address underscore street. So that is where I would use this code, and instead of X, I would put the actual user that I want, right? So here it would be users 1 minus 1.
Okay, and
So-
for this part,
The part that comes after X. Right, users 1-1 is the same thing is the same concept as X. So X is just a placeholder for.
so this will go.
I would say just try it, but since we're in Teaching Tuesday, I will let you know, yes, that is the way, unless Quentin thinks there is a better way.
Oh, I think that's good. Maybe on the form, it might have been safe when someone originally automated it to just replace it with like the whole address on one line instead of breaking it up, since it is already horizontal. But
I believe the sections actually say street, city, etc. So I think
They do. But
Okay.
I don't think it would really matter. Just to keep, it might be helpful to remind people of that, right? Like, think about how someone would fill it out on paper, and if it's neatly typed, I don't know if spacing it with a giant space is actually easier for the clerk to read than if it was just all written neatly together.
Sure.
So
I mean,
it
I
would be
isn't.
a change in my opinion, but I don't think you need to change it that way now.
Okay. I know that I, as a non-legal person, would not feel comfortable making that kind of choice. But yeah, I mean, if that was the instruction, then yeah, there'd be no problem with it. Then you would need address 1 line, just to be clear,
Right.
because otherwise it'll print it in a block, which is multiple lines of an address.
Okay. And
mhm.
just to, since we're teaching, how do you, if you were going to use address 1 line, would you change this part for all of them that make up that single address, or does it work differently?
So you would just have one. So imagine that lines 123 to line 126 were deleted, right? So 123, you want to keep 122. Yep, you want one place where the address is going to be, and you would say users 1.address.1 underscore line.
You're missing the word on, just so you know. I know this is
Oh,
just
on 1 line? Sorry.
Yep, on.
My bad. So I will type it in here. Users, not that anybody watching the video can see it, but
I'll put it in to show.
And just another reminder, just for people who are seeing this and wondering what is the 1-1. I know, Aubrey, you already know this, and it just didn't make sense to change it throughout. The way that our wizard worked, and still works now, it couldn't do the math. So 1 minus 1 is 0, so user 0. That's just kind of an artifact of the way our wizard creates these files right now.
yeah. Good point. Okay.
So if we were to do it like so, we would stretch that, what my box is, user street, address street, across the whole line. So
You would want to do that. Yeah, you would want to stretch it all the way across.
and it would still take my questions from the address where it splits it up and
Yep.
just populate them together. You wouldn't have to change anything from that question.
Yep, it just puts those together on one line in a
Okay.
way that makes sense in English, in
Okay.
our American way anyway.
Thank you very much for explaining that.
Sure. All right. Other questions about things in general?